The Mongol Empire. I don't think I need to give much explanation on this one. The Mongol Empire was one of the biggest empires in history. In fact, it was the second largest empire after the British Empire. And, in the 162 years of its existence, changed world history. So I'm here to ask the question, what if the Mongol Empire never existed? And what would happen as a result? Now, for this theory to occur, Genghis Khan, or Temujin as he was known, must die, because without him, there would likely be no Mongol Empire, at least as we knew it. So, how would he die, and when? Well, there are many times he could have died in his childhood, or before he became Khan. It doesn't really matter how he dies, as long as he does die. So, what would happen now that his empire no longer exists in this timeline? Well, one major change right off the bat would be that millions of people would not be killed. During the Mongol conquest, up to 40 million people, 10% of the world population, died during the Mongol conquest. Which means in a world without the Mongol Empire, assuming that something similar does not rise in its place, it means tens of millions of people get to live on in this timeline. And that has major ramifications on history. What those ramifications would be, well, that is unknown. Well, it's unknowable, actually, considering 40 million people living on in this timeline could change history by a lot, considering that was 10% of the world population. So there's no way to truly tell how exactly 10% of the human population getting to live on in this timeline would affect history. Another event that wouldn't happen in this timeline would be the Black Death, which truly got going during the Mongol conquest of China, and was spread to Europe because of a siege in 1347, when the Mongol army, suffering from plague, decided to use some good old biological warfare and catapulted infected corpses into the city, where some Genoese traders were staying. And as the plague was ravaging the city, they fled with the virus on board and carried it to Europe, where it first struck in Constantinople. In this timeline, that never occurs, preventing the virus from ever entering Europe, which would affect Europe a lot, as 30% to 60% of Europe's population would die due to the Black Death, and it no longer appearing would affect Europe in many different ways. It would change the style of government and society, the relationship between the people and the church, along with so many other things, and due to those changes, I am not going to go in depth about them. I'm going to save them for another video on what if the Black Death never really occurred, never really appeared, considering those ramifications are important to talk about, and I would like to talk about them in a separate video. So, back to Europe. Other ways Europe would be affected would be its knowledge about the outside world. Under the Mongols, political stability was brought to much of Asia, and the old Silk Road was re-established, bringing the West in contact with the East, and would many centuries later cause Columbus to go west to find a better trade route to China and India, leading to the discovery of the Americas. Without the Mongol Empire, to get the Silk Road started again, no one would want to go west, at least for a long time, preventing the Americas from being discovered by Europeans for a long, long time. Something that would also change would be Russia, which would most likely not exist, at least as we know it, as it was due to the Mongols that the Grand Duchy of Moscow rose up and became the Russian Tsardom in the first place. So without the Mongols, the Russia that we know today would be quite different, if not existent. It could be a bunch of random nation states in its place instead, which would affect history quite dramatically. And with that concludes the video. Now, I may do a second part on this, considering I feel that there was a lot more information that I did leave out. So, that may be foreseeable in the somewhat near future. Anyhow, I hope you liked the video, and I would appreciate it if you did comment on any mistakes I did make. So, let me say this again. I hope you liked the video. I hope you're willing to share it, and I hope you're also willing to subscribe as well. So, have a good day.